What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, my freaks and geeks? This is the Square Roundtable podcast. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for tuning in tonight to watch another amazing episode. And of course, we're going to bring you some amazing content like always. Now, if it looks a little different, that's because tonight is just me, your co host Chad, and my wonderful co host Marcus. We're going to sit here today.
Yeah.
We're going to sit here and give you guys a little review. And go ahead, Marcus, and let the viewers and listeners know what we are reviewing tonight.
So we have a special review tonight that's near and dear to our hearts because it's a show that represents us and finally gives our hometown a voice. That's not only in music, because it's always they talk about us in music, but tonight we're gonna review not really the whole final season of Atlanta, but more so the final episode of Atlanta season 4, episode 10. It was all a dream. Because was it all a dream? We just here to break it down and give our thoughts and ideas and where we think Donaldglover and the writers and all of them were going with this episode, which was greatly written and the acting and it. Man, look, I've watched it 3 times. Not only because we had to do this, but because that's just how much I loved it. So I watched it 3 times. Yes, that's what we bringing to you tonight. Me and my brother, we done wrote down some notes. We done studied it. We done went in. So hopefully we could provide y'all with some good content tonight.
I'm just gonna be real. Hopefully, when we drop this podcast, I'm dropping it in the inboxes of all the writers of Atlanta. Because look, y'all need to come on, bro. We need to interview somebody from Atlanta. It don't have to be Donald. Like, we can interview Stephen Glover, bro. You need to come on the podcast. Any of y'all, we giving y'all much love, man. So hey, come on and join the crew. It'll be a fun night, man.
Yes, man. Because we ATLians, man.
From Atlanta. So
we can relate to this show in a lot of ways. Right. And that's a good point to start because I was just listening to some other people talking about the show and just the overhaul of it and how it like feels. And they say a lot of it seems like it's based in reality, but not a lot of times. And it's because that's how it feels in Atlanta. And being from Atlanta, like you have a lot of encounters with people, individuals that don't seem like it's real because it just be like out of the box or out of ordinary. It might be a man that will walk up to you and he might tell you a crazy story that happened to him 50 years ago, and it just don't even sound like it's real. And then he walk away, and you don't never see that person again, ever. So
seriously,
it's almost we really can relate to the show being from Atlanta. So
no,
that's just one of my takes.
No, for real, and you really can. And the thing with me is, I'm a huge fan, like of horror, of course, and I love surrealism. Just me watching the show and being able to connect certain dots and really see where the writers got their inspiration from for this show. It's so obvious. We'll be making a lot of connections tonight, but I was just telling Marcus about guys like Richard Matheson or guys like David Lynch. A lot of these writers and creators really of that genre of surrealism. And like to see that and the way, because all of these guys, they're white guys. Not to take anything away from them, like that's perfectly fine. But a lot of those situations where you see surrealism taking place, especially in the Twilight Zone in the 40s and the 50s, a lot of these situations that didn't necessarily involve Black people. So when you see like guys like Donaldglover take that and then treat it with the Black experience, it's just, oh snap, like I mess with that. That's crazy. And you get to see, and even not even him, like guys like Jordan Peele, they do it too. But you get to see that, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So first and foremost, I just want to get your regular, like right off the bat, pitch review for that episode. It was all a dream. What did you think initially? This is like after the first viewing. Like,
viewing?
Yeah.
Man, after the first viewing, I was so conflicted because I really like when I watch stuff, I pay attention to it the first time, but I don't at the same time because I'm caught up in it and getting like the first feel of it and just getting the experience and just, okay, it's the season finale, blah, blah, blah. So I'm paying attention, but I'm not. So when it got to the end, I was like, oh man, is it real or is it not? And then I didn't think about it anymore. And I sat on it for a couple of days. And then I went back and I was like, yo, I think the whole show might have been a dream, or some of it. Like some of it wasn't real and some of it was.
Mhm.
Then I just started thinking and it just drove me crazy. And I was like, I gotta watch it again. And that's when I watched it again. And I remember I was telling you about it. I was like, bro, you gotta catch up so we can talk about this last episode, because I got this feeling that they trying to tell us that most of the show isn't real. It was Darius' dream that he made up in his
Mhm.
head. And it's even crazy because as far as like the song choice they chose and everything for it, as far as what the lyrics said and all that, like I'll go more into that when we talk about like when we actually broke it down and look at it. But the first time I was just like, ooh, what song is that? Because I know that's Funkadelic. I know that's Marvin Gaye. I was like, but let me go listen to the song. And I was like, that's interesting that he chose those type of songs for that episode. And then just the whole thing with playing off of reality, like we
Mhm.
said, surrealism, and then even like the cultural appropriation stuff, like Popeyes, the distinction between like how we support other businesses more than we support like black
Mhm.
owned. But sometimes black owned can be a little far fetched and out there, and it can be
Yeah.
a little touchy sometimes and different, and we don't quite get it. So it was cool to see like him also play on that at the same time, because that's appropriation with reality. It's surrealism, and it's like he blending all of that in one episode that's only 30 minutes, and that's the crazy part. It's so much in that little bit of time, and I think that's what makes it so good. So automatically after I watched it, I was like, yo, the Disney CEO thing, that was my favorite from the season. I was like, but nah, this one is my favorite.
Yeah. No, for
Definitely.
real. That Disney one. We really need a review just for that one too. Like
We do. That's a
that
whole
was
nother review.
yeah.
And it explains even more to why it's almost like Darius created another reality where stuff
Yeah.
was different. I really feel like even though we know that wasn't real, it really happened in that reality or whatever
Yeah.
place that is there in. So I really think that's cool how he played on that. And he executed it like so well to where you could really like pinch it and be like, oh yeah, that should be there. It's supposed to be there.
Exactly. But just a side note, because I think the second time I watched it all the way through, I watched it with my mom. And we were watching it and I still didn't catch it. And I think until my mom said, what even is that? When I think it was the scene when Ern and Paperboy were talking about where they were going, and he was like, yeah, my has a homeboy that owns a sushi shop.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, that sounds gross. And personally, and this is just my personal thing, I hate fusion anyway. Like
Yes, it never works.
I can't, because okay, like I love my folks, man, in the Asian community. I think y'all are amazing, wonderful food, all of that good stuff. I'm sorry, like I'm here for you when they try to put barbecue on the food that y'all. They shouldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They shouldn't put collard greens in y'all food. I'm just being real, bro. So I
No,
hate
that's
fusion. I
facts.
can't
That's
stand it.
facts.
Yes, I
That's
cannot,
facts. They be trying to have mac and cheese on the
bro.
side with
Yes.
a sushi roll.
Well, I was on Instagram the other day and I saw somebody make a Philly cheesesteak egg roll. I'm like, come
See?
on, like
See, it
y'all,
just some
it's
things are meant to
gross.
be in the classification it's supposed to be in. Soul food is soul food. Asian, Chinese food is that's that. No,
And
it's okay sometimes to do a little bit, but when you just try to
no,
abuse everything,
nah, man, it turns into some trash, and that's exactly what the episode was about. Because my dude was a black trained, and I'm not saying that black folks can't be trained in it, but it's like when you take it, try to be traditional with it. You know what I'm saying? You can't
Mhm,
bring soul food up in there. It's not. It's gonna be funky. It's gonna be funky.
mhm.
That's exactly what happened. But yeah, for me, Marcus, I think like a lot of the same things. And as far as from where the last episode was, because on my initial viewing, I was just trying to watch everything because I think the world that Donald Glover and Hero of Mirai and Stephen Glover, the world that they've created it makes you want to pay attention to the whole thing. You don't want to miss anything. Just like for an example, like you got, I think the episode before that, it's like they talked about it and then it was like it just didn't exist anymore. The fact that Paperboy had a farm.
Yeah, he had a farm because of what Soldier Boy told him when it was about the shooter, whatever. The guy that was killing the rappers who made like the dance songs from back in the day, the snap songs and all that. So yeah, it was a play off of that. So he actually had a farm and then
Got almost killed by a boar, a wild boar.
Yeah, a wild boar. That felt like a mythical creature though. It didn't even seem like it was real.
So that kind of stuff, bro. So it was like they created a world where you really want to pay attention. So the whole time I'm looking at the two situations. So you have your A story and your B story. So you got Earn and Paperboy who are going to try this black fusion Chinese sushi or whatever. And then you got Darius who's doing his thing. So the whole point of that episode is he's going to get his float tank on. So he's going to the float tank. And real life, if you guys know about what goes on in float tanks, they're a sensory deprivation tank. So basically, and I'll be honest, Marcus, I'm terrified of sensory deprivation tanks anyway. This episode made me super.
Oh no, it made it worse.
I was like, oh hell no. I'm like, I'm gonna have a heart attack in there, bro.
Especially when my boy was turned over. I was like, oh man.
Oh man, I'm like, ain't no way. So basically, that's the whole point of the episode for our viewers and listeners out there. So you have your A plot, and basically it's Earn and Paperboy. So they go to the restaurant, and basically things just start to get out of hand. Paperboy wants to leave at a certain point because he's just, hey, bro, F this.
It's too weird.
It's too weird. There's literally a Popeyes across the street, which oddly enough, they never go in. It just, we'll get to all that kind of imagery later. But then the B plot is that Darius is trying to get his sensory deprivation thing going on. He meets, what's her name? Which is a very odd
cameo.
Yeah, a very odd cameo. What's her name again?
I forgot what her name was in the show, but Cree Summers. Yeah, I forgot. I don't think they never gave her a name. I think she was just like the lady. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so Cree Summers. Yeah, that was an interesting cameo. I was like, wow, how did he get Cree?
It was a pretty dope cameo. And then all of a sudden, okay, he gets into the sensory deprivation tank. I think he leaves and gets into some crazy situations. And then he keeps realizing over and over again that he's not leaving the sensory deprivation tank.
He's still in there.
So he's having this like dream that keeps happening over and over again. It's driving him crazy, but through him and Cree Summer, Cree kind of acts like an exposition dump. And we find out through his conversation with her that in his process, he figures out he has a way to
know when it's not
distinguish,
real.
Right, to distinguish himself from a dream in the real world. And the way that he distinguishes himself is by watching Judge Judy. And if he watches Judge Judy and he sees that Judge Judy, because we all know how Judge Judy looks.
Exactly. Yeah, we know how Judge Judy looks. It's actually funny because it's like a play off of this like thing. It was like a meme or something.
Remember that
on Instagram, and they was like, "Dang, Judge Judy thick," and then they used that to like his advantage to make her like out there looking scissor coming from behind.
Yes, bro. So that's basically how he realizes that he's in a dream. So if Judge Judy walks from behind her desk and she got a big old scissor booty or some kind of stripper booty, then he's okay. I'm obviously dreaming. And the thing about this episode is a lot of weird shit happens, and the episode leaves you on a cliffhanger because at the end, after all this crazy shit happens that we'll get into in a second, and we'll deep dive in that, the episode ends with Darius watching Judge Judy. You see her about to get up, and they just look at his panning on Darius's face, looking at it, and he smiles a little bit, but the audience doesn't know whether Judge Judy has a big booty or not.
And it's like it's almost like a kind of worried like smile, like like when you did something and you can't believe it didn't happen. So it's almost a play on, oh man, he might really had stole the car and he might really be in trouble for stealing a car. Or it was a dream and he's just laughing because he's, man, when am I gonna wake up from this fictional place that's in my head? And like I said, the song that they choose is a funkadelic song called "The Song Is Familiar," and it just really talk about like this place that the song is saying it's a place that I go in my head when I'm sad, when I'm feeling down. So basically, like your escape to go somewhere to escape from reality. And they playing on that with him by playing that song at the end because is he still in that fictional place? Is he
Yeah.
escaping still? You know what I'm
And
saying?
I'm glad you said that actually, because you do, even though we're in a dream state, you can get because Darius, and I think, like I said, your assumption, Marcus, is right, because we're basically saying, like, we're reviewing the episode, but we're basically saying that the whole series is a dream, like, and isn't
Mm-hmm.
real. And it makes sense because the person that really has the least background out of everybody in the story is
It's
Darius.
Darius.
They never really dive in Darius, but in this episode, we see that
A
apparently
lot
Darius
about.
had a brother that died.
Yeah, a
Apparently,
brother that died. He had a little wild party inside with the girl, the ex. So
exactly,
to see that part of him. So it's like
exactly.
it's kind of like opening up to who he is and what's his story a little bit. And then just even playing, just going off of past seasons, all the encounters that Darius had by himself out of the box, like the episode, what is it called with the Michael Jackson dude? What
Oh
was it
yeah,
called?
the
Teddy.
Teddy Perkins
Yeah, like
episode.
that
Yeah,
episode. That's like a part of okay. Is Darius making this stuff up? Is it really happening or is it all in his head? So it's even crazy because he says a line at the end. What did he say? I wrote it down somewhere. I cannot remember what he said. But oh, he says to them when they're talking about, oh, you're not in the tank anymore. He's like, maybe it's just a dream and you were always in he said maybe it was a dream and you were in it always have been. So it's like
yeah.
maybe he dreamed this up with his friends and they've always been in his dream. And it's maybe something else happened, or maybe they're not there anymore, or maybe it just took time, they took time off. Whatever the state may be, he makes up this world where he gives each of his friends like an arc. Like in this season, like all three, like I don't know why I say Vern all the time. Ern, Van, and Paperboy all have these interesting arc episodes where it's like a little hero's journey almost and like adventure into this world. Like with Ern, the D'Angelo episode,
Hey,
where it's like
right.
being John Malkovich kind of type thing. With Van, it's the whole Mr. Chocolate, the
Yeah, the
spoof on
play on
Tyler
Tyler
Perry.
Perry.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like a Willy Wonka kind of type thing. And then of course, like we talked about with Paperboy, being on the farm and dealing with a supernatural being and kind of showing like that escape from the world that he's been put in as like a rapper. It's very common.
Almost some I Am Legend
Yeah,
type
like
shit.
I am legend. Like rappers are common to be like, I really do want to escape this life because at a certain point, it's I'm not enjoying it anymore. It gets dangerous. So it's a play off of that. So it's like he makes up those three things because all three of them don't feel like it's something that's happening in real time and in like reality. It all feels like something you would make up because of the way it plays out in each one. So that's why it's cool when they say little stuff like that and certain that's just good writing too.
You're right. It
And
is.
good callbacks to things. So I think this episode doesn't only call back to just stuff in this season, but like throughout the whole series. So I thought that was interesting too.
No, seriously, I thought it was definitely interesting. And the thing that I love about it, like you said, they made the comment about what if you've always been in here and what if you've always been dreaming or whatever, because it always seems, like I said, the way Atlanta is and how dreams work. Like, I love projects that like deal with dream logic because
Mm-hmm.
it's not always like always wacky and crazy. It's like you were saying, Marcus, you said the song they use is This Is Familiar. When you have a dream, sometimes you don't even realize you're dreaming until something strange happens and you're just like, oh, this ain't right. And this is, once again, it's that thing. It's okay, this is familiar. And then something odd kind of happens when they were in, like, and they were overseas. And once again, it's a situation with Darius and Van. they go do this little thing. They're with
Mm-hmm.
these people, and it looks like they're at a funeral or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you realize it's a Tupac
Yeah, it's
sacrifice
a sacrifice, and I was like, "Whoa!"
for Tupac, for Tupac of all people. And it's just, huh? And once again, something familiar, and then all of a sudden, something just goes crazy, and it's just, what the heck is this? So yeah,
Even
so
with him and Paperboy, when they had the whole thing, when they went to the little coffee place,
the
and then
space, yeah,
yeah, and they took the space cake, and then they had a trip. But was it really a trip, or was it just a look into what happened? It was
exactly,
crazy because like we said, like Chad said earlier, it's a lot of reminiscence of the Twilight Zone and that mastery of suspense and is this what it is, and keeping you on the edge of your seat and not revealing too much, but giving you just enough, which I love because it gives you an opportunity to create your own realities and stories in your head to like fill in gaps because it's really not any plot holes. It's
right,
just letting you figure out where it can go and what it will be, which is
exactly.
freaking brilliant, man. It's freaking brilliant.
It is, and like over the Christmas vacation, I was doing some research for this podcast, and I remember something that Donald Glover said, and I wanted to get more information about it. So before episode 1 even came out of Atlanta, Donald Glover said that he wanted this show to be the Black Twin Peaks, and I was just like, okay. I'm like, I can, because I'm a Twin Peaks fan. I've seen a couple
Hmm.
episodes. So I'm like, yeah, I can see that. So Twin Peaks is, if you've ever seen it, it's literally a cop show, but it's a cop show that has a whole lot of dream logic. So once again, it's like
Yep.
you're in a serious situation and then something strange happens and it's not tethered to the rules of reality. But it's deeper than that. Over the break, I was looking at some works by the guy that actually created Twin Peaks. His name is David Lynch. David Lynch does a lot of projects surrounding dream logic. And I was like, okay. And I watched this movie, and I will reference it for all of our viewers and listeners out there. I don't want to ruin it. Fuck, I don't. It's such a good.
Look, you don't want to
It's
spoil
such a
it,
good point, but
but
I don't want to spoil it.
you gotta put it
Ah,
out there though, man.
so
You gotta let
yeah,
the people know because now people are gonna want to go see it. They're gonna go watch it either way. So
true. So I'm gonna ruin it for you guys a little bit, but the movie is called Mulholland Drive, and it's a movie written by and directed by David Lynch. And basically, the
mhm.
movie is about this girl. I'll tell you the plot without ruining it. So it's a movie about this girl basically having a nightmare. She's having a dream, but she doesn't really realize it. She's having a dream that's trying to that throughout the whole movie, it's her brain basically trying to deal with a trauma that happened to her. And her dream is basically her way of trying to get through that trauma. And like I said, the whole thing, it gives you bits and pieces and little callbacks. It doesn't tell you that it's a dream. By the
Mhm.
end of the movie, it's just a reveal. That's the big reveal that she's been dreaming the whole time. And all of his projects are like that. And I'm just like, damn, that's what Atlanta is. I'm like, Atlanta is one big fever dream from the perspective, but the biggest thing isn't from the perspective of Darius. And
Yeah,
I think it is. I think it
I think
is.
so too. I think so too. Because they really set him up to be that character. If you notice in a lot of stories, they set it up with the protagonist. And if it's a group of friends they have, it's always that one character that's supposed to be like the hippie, trippy, far out person, or they're one with the earth, or they look at things from a different perspective. And they don't focus too much on their like story, but they're a very vital point to the story. Like a lot of things they do contributes to like the storytelling of the main characters and what they do. And that's how he felt. He almost felt like it was a look into this other world that was there. And like we were saying, I feel like he created like this alternate reality of like just another world. Like how we always talk about sometimes like what if this or what if that, and we make up these stories and we play with them and we think if things went this way or what this person would do if they were here. like the callback to the Disney CEO thing. It was a black CEO, and it was by mistake because they said they chose the wrong name. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, we know. The viewers, we know some people didn't even know
people
it was
didn't
fake.
know the
A lot of
truth.
people thought
No.
it was real.
Yeah, some people
And,
didn't know the
and
truth.
people had to look it up. Once we figure out it's not real, but maybe that really happened in that reality that was created, that alternate place, that dream, or that place that you go to escape. You know what I'm saying? So it could be even a thing of like where it's a portal, because a lot of times in this show, Donald and them really focus on like portals into like this other dimension or something. Like with the D'Angelo, how it was like literally so like the square box of going into another world and coming out into something that you wasn't set to your expectations, and this is what it is. But it feels like you can travel through these different like dimensions, and it sounds crazy because everybody thinks it's a show about Atlanta, but sometimes that's what Atlanta feels like. It feels like some things are not really happening around you, but it is. And I love how he plays on that, because I think that's what a lot of people play on now, is like this what is real and what's not. That's like a big thing in these most recent like shows. I think somebody else compared a Lil Dicky show like to his, because I think he did a show where it was similar. A lot of stuff he was doing was like not real, and it's supposed to be like, was it a dream or blah blah blah. But yeah, I gotta look more into that. I just saw it pop up, but
yeah, I gotta watch Lil Dicky show. I never even really was never on my radar. So now that you said it, I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. But no, you're right. Like especially with like you were talking about earlier, you see the wheels turning with these episodes, because you see their basically what they're based on. Because you see, like you said perfectly with that episode, with the D'Angelo episode, that is completely a callback to the whole portal thing of being John Malkovich, like that. And that's very like a movie directed by Kaufman. That's very Kaufman-esque, like that whole kind of setup. And then you see episodes like the episode with Teddy Perkins, which is literally like an episode that you would see in an Alfred Hitchcock type episode. You also see like how they literally had Vanessa have a whole like action sequence kind of Salt-esque character that she was playing towards the end of last season. There's so many references, but one of the points that I wanted to bring up too, which is some more evidence of how this whole series has been a dream of Darius, is because literally Marcus, every character in that show has had a arc where they had to deal with reality, except for Darius is like the Peter Pan character of the group. He never grows up. He never learns his lesson. He never has to deal with, he's not tethered to reality as being an adult. You know what I'm saying? We never get an idea of what he actually does for Paperboy, like what his job is. So he's more or less just like a hanger-oner. He just floats around. Even in the episode where they did the space cake thing, he made a comment, and he was just like, because he couldn't buy the space cake, and because he didn't have any money. It was one of the first instances where we're like, oh, he doesn't do anything, so he doesn't have money.
Like he don't got a job. We don't know if he finished school or what.
It's like we don't have any information. He's just floating around. And literally, it's just, oh, okay. Why? Because when you're dreaming, 9 times out of 10, you know what I'm saying, you're in that first person perspective. So it's like he's building this world up around him. And whether that's to fight trauma or loneliness, or deal with the fact that he hasn't done anything in life, or just create a reality to escape to. There's actually a good Twilight Zone episode about that. It's called, there's a couple of them where like people literally, there's literally a couple of them, but one of my favorite ones is A Stop at Willoughby. And basically, this man, he's tired of his life. He rides the train every day back home from work. And what he does is he goes to sleep on the train, and he's found a way to escape his reality to a place called Willoughby, which is a idealized version of America, where everybody's like thriving, everybody's happy. He doesn't necessarily have a job or a way to live or whatever, but he's able to make it anyway and just enjoy life. And I think that's the drawn out version of what Darius has done, because like you just see examples of certain things like a black Justin Bieber, or an
invisible
invisible
car.
car. Yeah, stuff like that. Or what's another example? Literally a rap commercial about Yoo-hoo where
Yeah,
they're
about
cursing in the
you.
commercial. It's just like little stupid stuff like that. A car commercial where my dude is literally naked in the commercial. A cereal commercial or it's a play on police brutality
Dealt
where
with the character. It was like the tricks are for kids, but they arrested. It's crazy because when you, like you said, when you look at all that, it's almost like, is this stuff like real? Like, are they really looking at? Because even if you notice, a lot of times when that stuff is playing, everybody's nonchalant about it when it's just on TV and stuff. Like the beginning of this episode, when he was watching it, and it's crazy how it starts. He's already watching Judge Judy, but
yes.
that's why I think it's a dream because we don't get to see her get up because it cuts to a Popeyes commercial. And that's why I said Popeyes is important too,
I
because
forgot about that.
it makes that, it fills in that gap of like cultural appropriation and then like the dream state. Okay, we're gonna use Popeyes as like the kind of like base of operations in the dream. You know how you have a dream and it's that place that's all that you go to, that's the focus of the whole dream, and it's about whatever you create in the world. But then,
Right.
like you said, you have that thing that's like snaps you back. Like
Mhm.
if you walk down the street, you see a Popeyes. It's, damn, why do I keep seeing Popeyes? Maybe Popeyes is the way for me to get back to where I'm supposed to be. It's like that, you know how it is,
Mm.
and just like worlds and stuff like that. So it's crazy that they started off with him watching Judge Judy because it's, oh man, are we already in the, is he already in the tank? Or is that just a way to play with us to be like, hey, pay attention because this is gonna come back later on. And it's cool because the episode almost splits it up into two separate stories because like you said, with Vern, with Ern Van and Paperboy, they already going to the sushi place, and Darius has to go to his deprivation tank. So it's okay. It starts off in reality, if it's reality, and everybody's going to their destinations. But then it goes like this, and then it's going like that. So
Yeah,
it's
and it gets progressively like less believable because
mhm.
like even at the end of them being in the sushi
the
place,
yep.
the owner gets like really violent
That's
last
my
minute.
favorite part. It was funny as hell.
About to die, bro. I'm like, what?
He was like, "You don't want to eat the sushi." He said, "But you want to go to Popeyes." I was like, "Oh, he finna kill them."
I'm like, these folks finna die, bro. And once again, it's just, and then the end of that, like I said before, they never even went into Popeyes. You just see like this weird kind of ending scene of everybody just smiling and happy and driving in this stolen pink car. How did that even happen? And they're all just eating Popeyes and enjoying it on the way back to the
and
house.
and that's another thing because it's like they pull the Popeyes from. It's almost in a dream when you think about something and it magically appears and it's, oh, there it is.
Right.
Because even if people could say, nah, he might have stopped at the Popeyes before he got there, but how did he know to get them Popeyes? And they were thinking about Popeyes and they never mentioned it in the
Never
beginning.
talked
They might
about
have
it.
said something, it was subtle, but how did he know to get them what they wanted and for them to be happy? That's what I'm saying. It's already in his mind. His self-conscious knows because those are his friends. So he created that to bring the happiness of getting them out of a situation where they felt threatened and they felt like they were terrified because they didn't know what was going to happen. And then even to the
Exactly.
point when they get back to the house, they all laughing and stuff. And he says, "It's cool. I stole the car because I'm still dreaming." And then they like, "No, that was real. You're not in the tank anymore." And that's when he says the line I brought up about maybe you were all there and it was just a dream. And that's why I'm like, yo, I don't know, man. I think I think all of this is in his head, man. You know?
I do too. And just like the point that you brought up earlier, when conventionally odd things happen happen just like in a dream. Like I'm a very much sane person, I think, because most PhD students aren't sane. So I might be a little crazy. But for the most part, I'm a pretty sane person. So if I saw a piece of cake flying right now, I would be terrified. You know what I'm saying? Cakes don't do that. But
Good God, what's going on?
but in my dream, I've seen pieces of cake fly, and I'm just like, haha, that's cool. All right. Anyway, so
Yeah, you
in
keep
dream,
you shrug
you
it
just
off.
keep it moving, right? You just shrug it off and keep it moving. I didn't have full conversations with snowmen in my dreams, and it's cool.
And that's so crazy, bro, because it's like you said, when you said, I think I'm the same person, I was like, I'll be thinking the same way because I have these crazy dreams that seem like it's real, but then it's always something that to let me know that it's like
Right.
it's not real. Like I had a dream that I was sitting at a breakfast place and I met Dirk Nowitzki and he dapped me up and showed me his championship ring and walked away. But then I looked outside and it was just white and there was nothing there. And I was like, oh, this isn't real. I was
Like,
like,
dang.
why
Well,
would I meet Dirk Nowitzki anyway? I have no connection to him at all, you know?
exactly. Right. Same thing. It's like you always have that thing and you shrug it off until you realize that something bizarre happens, or you're just like, okay, this is probably, or when you wake up, you think about how bizarre that was. And you're just like, that was odd. But
Very odd.
just like that, all the characters in Atlanta, when weird stuff happens, like you said, the invisible car or Justin Bieber obviously being a black man, people just shrug it off and they're just like, oh, this
And they
is
keep going on about their life like nothing has happened.
like the
Nothing is off.
Migos, or like the Migos being literal killers. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
was like,
Like,
okay, so everybody, this is just normal. Okay.
right. I'm like, they just killed people. Y'all, yep, that's just the Migos. Is it though? Is it? I'm like, that is severely odd. And you just got like weird stuff going on and nobody questions it. Like it's just cool. So that's in my head, I'm just like, yeah, that's dream logic. But then it's like when you find that out, it's okay, whose dream is it? And I think we've narrowed it down by saying that, like I said, everybody else in the story has had exponential character growth except for Darius. Darius is the one person that is always the same.
Always.
And literally, and let's just be real, like when people tell you something, bro, 9 times out of 10, it's true. Like the episode is literally called "It Was All a Dream." So I think that might just be Donald's way of telling us, hey, bro, it was all a
Like
dream.
it was a good run. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, but hey, none of it was real. And that's what great like writers and creators do. They give you something, they build it up, and then they almost crush your dreams at the end. No pun intended. It's like, hey, I'm glad you liked it, but none of it was real. And it's
Seriously.
but maybe it was. It's depending on you. And they're never gonna tell you because I think Hitchcock said that he was like, I don't like to reveal anything to my viewers because I want to leave it up to them to figure it out.
Right.
Because it's that suspense that keeps people in the moment and keeps them tied into whatever story you're about to tell. And
Exactly.
if you give them too much, people will be like, oh, that's typical. They doing it like songs. But if you give them just enough, they're like, interesting. I wonder why he did it like that. I wonder why he called back to that. To literally name the last episode of the whole series, It Was All a Dream. Hey.
Seriously. And you look at all the greats, like they all do it. Like you think Serling is a little nicer than some of the other ones, but you got like Serling, Hitchcock, Kaufman, David Lynch, like all of these guys that create this type of thing. Like if you watch their projects, like if anybody's ever watched Eraserhead by David Lynch, like it is so freaking dense. Oh, you've watched Eraserhead?
I
It's
seen a
dense
little
as
bit of it
hell.
when I was in college for like
Bro.
my horror class. Yeah, it's a
It's
very strange film.
like you can literally write like you did a school project on it. You could write a dissertation just off of Eraserhead, bro. It's crazy.
For real.
And it doesn't hold your hand at all. It just ends, and then you're like, what the heck just happened? Oh, go ahead.
And it's just that's what a lot of TV and like shows and stuff, because we know as people who watch it, this stuff is supposed to be made up. because you don't technically see this stuff happening in the real world. And then some shows are like based in reality, you know, it's set up to reflect on what's going on in the world. And then you have stuff like this. Like even to the point where Breaking Bad, they had a play on where they was gonna make it at the end of the show that Bryan Cranston woke up. It was his character from Malcolm in the Middle, and he dreamed the whole thing. And I'm like, that's why I'm like so bent on, dude, it really probably was all a dream, but we don't get to see whoever wakes up, wake up. Like, yeah, we might think it's Darius, but what if it's actually Van who wakes up? Or what if it's actually their daughter who wakes up and she made it up? We don't know whose dream it is.
And that's true too.
So it's like, whose dream is it? What dream is it? Where is it coming from? And that's the cool part about it. But we pin Darius to it because, like we said, he's the only character who never really has any kind of growth throughout the series. And he always just floating along.
He literally floats
series.
like in a deprivation tank. Just like being in a deprivation tank.
He
literally
along.
floats on.
Everything he does is like a floating motion. Like, they could be eating something and they're like, man, this pizza is good. If you eat pizza a certain way, it can unlock certain cells in your body to give off this aroma. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, we talk about, and that's literally like his character, but I really feel like it was done on purpose so they could sell it at the end, and it paid off the way it does, because you almost take him more serious in this last episode because of the different like arcs he goes through. Like we said, like Kree was his tank guide almost to guide him through the tank and ask him like, how do you get out? And then like his brother to unlock his past, because even it's a lot of stuff in that scene. Like they show like the jerseys. I think it was from like Nigeria. I can't remember the exact.
About the Jollof that he likes.
Yeah, the Jollof. So it's giving that background of like where his family is from. Yeah. And if you notice, when he walks in, who's on the TV? Already, Judge Judy. Yeah.
Oh man.
So they already learned this might be another dream, another place he like. It's probably a place he goes to relive a memory that he doesn't want to let go of. Because like we said, his brother might have passed, so he's not ready to let go of it yet. So he holds on to that last memory, which that probably was the last memory of his brother, knowing he was getting sick. He was taking him his medicine, checking on him, but he couldn't stay.
Ooh, wow, that's true. He sure did. That's why he was in the pharmacy. He was getting his medicine. Dang.
And another interesting thing about it is, it's like each person was his guide to try to get back to reality. Because the girl literally tells him to wake up. Like, it's not your fault, wake up. But his brother says, hey man, you don't gotta do that. Go ahead and go out there with your friends and enjoy that. Like telling him, you gotta get out of here because you stuck. Like, you're not waking up. It's like a loop. You keep falling back asleep. You gotta wake up, man. It's like they're trying to get him out of that. And it's almost like he refuses to escape because that's his place he goes to. You know?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a really good point. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first watched the episode, and I think it's because I was sleepy, I was really disappointed. I was just like, dang, that's how this is gonna end. And then I had a chance to marinate on it and think, and I was like, whoa, this has some layers to it.
Yes.
I was just like, wow. And it's so cool because it's like a bunch of stuff, but presented in a way to where it's just like, if you don't pay attention, it's almost, what is this mess? What is going on? But we just keep peeling back the layers. It's like an onion. It's like you just keep peeling it back, and there's so much stuff under there. But yeah, I seriously think that this episode, this series is like I said, it's a fantastic example of how Black people can exist in this area of surrealism. And I seriously put this series, since the series is over, I put it up there with your Twilight Zones and your because it's very much that it's an anthology series for sure, completely. So I put it up there with that. And the funny part is, Marcus, I'll be so real with you, bro. I think that this series, and that's a big statement, but it is the closest thing, in my opinion, and I don't even think they tried to do it, but it's the closest, in my opinion, to the original Twilight Zone, bro. Like the closest, like
I can agree with that.
like I honestly think like as far as how what the episodes try to do and the narratives that they try to have and the way the episodes end and it's just like how they're presented because they always even Jordan Peele tried to do a Twilight Zone, which isn't it wasn't bad at
Yeah.
all, but it
But it
just
felt like what it was supposed to be, the Twilight Zone updated. You know what I'm saying? We knew that was the Twilight.
instead of being its own organic thing. And for
Yeah.
me, like the I mean, it's such a this show, and I know for a fact that's why I would love to have a writer, like we talked about in the beginning, talk to a writer, even talk to Donald Glover about it, because I know for a fact that he used all of the aforementioned masters of horror as references for this show. And it's such a great kind of love letter to that style of art, really. I think it's great, man. So with that being said, Marcus, do you have any final thoughts about our review of It Was All a Dream?
Final thoughts, pretty much to piggyback off what you just said. I put it up there with all the other like suspense and mystery, thriller, storytelling, all of that good stuff. And it's probably one of my favorite shows of this kind of generation, of that kind of genre, because it died out for a while. We didn't get a lot of that supernatural kind of thing, especially for a black show. Because a lot of black shows, especially black written shows, are very
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical still, even with black writers, because of the people that they are presented to. And they
Mm-hmm.
always give us these same stories, even when it tries to step outside the box. And the fact that they got to keep this playground and in this sandbox and do what they wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
As a writer myself and as a imaginative creator, I really enjoyed it because sometimes I think the best stuff comes when you just let people give them the freedom to think outside the box. And that's really what this show was about. And the fact that it comes from a place that you actually grew up in and you know about and you have like relations to and connections, I think it gives you even more of a connection to it. Just final thoughts, man. I enjoyed the series as a whole. I hate that it had to end, but it ended on the right note. I love when they don't try to stretch and milk it to the end and just
Exactly.
beat us over the head with it and just be like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be. So now we're coming back to where it's three dreams and we don't know, like how it was simplified and it was like they cut it off right where it needed to be. And like I said, the song choices for that last episode were good. The Funkadelic, it definitely played off in the ending. And even when he stole the car with the Marvin Gaye song, it was a dream of a lifetime. And he says a line from the lyrics in that song, and I'm going to end it on this. It says, other dreams I have lost. And I think he says, but I would like to hold on to a lifetime or something like that. But basically, he talking about dreams that he would like to last forever. So it's almost, is this a dream he doesn't want to end because it's a good one and it's a happy dream? You know what I'm saying? So,
I like that. I like
yeah.
that. So I think I definitely agree with you, man, and saying about the series that is, like I said, a good callback and it's really great for what is done for Black creators. And we've gotten a chance to see what truly happens when you have somebody that takes the reins, that actually knows what they're doing and can
Mm-hmm.
push that narrative forward. And not, I'm not gonna lie, bro, we have a lot of, I'm not gonna, here's the thing, like when you talk about like Black creators that are for sure in this genre, people like to say, okay, it's just the Jordan Peele game. And it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
I think with Jordan Peele, I was having a conversation the other day, and big shout out to the folks from Bird's Eye View. I was talking to one of the co-hosts.
What's up, y'all?
What's going on, y'all? Big shout out. And we were just talking about the new movie Megan. I think it's Megan, right?
Yeah.
M3GAN. About
Yeah,
the
Megan.
and
Yeah.
that series, that show movie was written by a Black woman, which
Mm-hmm.
is awesome. And it's so much not a Jordan Peele movie. It's not a Donald Glover type story, but I still think that work of art, however you feel about it, it's valid. And I think that as a community, what we're going to have to do is just not be on guard so much because stuff isn't Jordan Peele or stuff isn't Donald
Yeah.
Glover. We
No,
got to
for
let more
real.
people through. We do.
That's facts.
Seriously.
Because everybody is like, and it's so crazy that Jordan Peele has set such a high standard because he only did 4 movies. What, 3, 4? It's 3 movies, right? Because it's Us,
Um,
Get Out, and Nope.
and then technically Candyman.
Yeah, technically Candyman. So it's like he really only did 4 movies, but like he didn't set this bar that everybody like wants to put a category when it's a black person doing something that's like out of the ordinary. Oh, that's a Jordan Peele thing.
Is no, he's definitely set the bar, man. But I think, like I said, I love what Donald Glover has done with Atlanta. And like I said, and it's not just Donald Glover. There's shout out to the whole team. Shout out to Stephen Glover, Hero Marai, a lot of the other writers on the series. They definitely the directors, they've done great stuff. And honestly, like I said, this series has me perplexed. And I think that's the best way you could be after finishing a series.
And it's one last comment too. It's honestly the first series that I've seen where they set something up and it's a payoff for it. A lot of series, they have these filler episodes and it doesn't really go anywhere. But this show really took stuff and it might have been something real small, but it always came back in full circle. And I can appreciate that for a show because it makes me feel like they're not just playing with me and just giving me something just to be like, ooh, and eyes. Oh, that's why they did that. Cause it comes back. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it, man. I really did.
I did too. Like I said, I think it's a love letter to the greats, and me being a horror and a thriller as much as a nerd as I am. Like literally, like I got beside me, like we were talking about earlier. For all our viewers and listeners, if you're a fan of Twilight Zone, pick up what is this? The Best of Richard Matheson. Wrote a lot of greats on the Twilight Zone series. I got all kind of books and whatever. So I'm a nerd. So I'm loving all of it right now. I'm
Yes,
loving
man.
all of it, and I think it's a wonderful series.
And hopefully soon down the road, somebody will be reviewing something we've done because that's how much we love it, man. We talk about this stuff all the time, and me and Chad always talking about what kind of books we're gonna write. One day we're gonna have somebody gonna be making a show out of our stuff. You gotta start somewhere, man. And these kind of people, they really do influence us. And that's just not to say that just because we're doing this review, but like they do. Like we have a lot more influences now than we did as kids. And it's crazy because we're adults now, but like we have more examples to look up to now because we're breaking through in more categories, not even just horror mystery. Look at what Abbott Elementary just did. Like they sweeping these award shows. So we here.
Look, we went in, like I said, Black Panther went in straight up Golden Globes for a superhero movie. That's unheard of.
So we here, man. We trying to move some mountains. So
we here. Big shout outs to minorities in general. Because you got everything everywhere all at once is killing them right now.
Yes, girl who just did Wednesday, the Latino and Latina community, they getting their shine. So it's beautiful to see this because I always said in our past podcasts, I always said it's still a long road that we got to go down, but it's not as narrow as it was at first. So it's like we making these slowly, but what I'm seeing right now is crazy. Like it's happening, and I love it. I'm living in the
so
moment.
Happy to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm right there.
Yes.
With that being said, I think the perfect thing to end out this podcast will be a quote from one of the great masters of horror, Mr. Rod Serling, talking about dreams. So they say a dream only takes a second or so. And yet that second, a man can live a lifetime. He can suffer and die. And who's to say which is the greater reality? The one we know or the one in dreams? Between heaven, the sky, the earth, in the Twilight Zone. This has been the Score Roundtable, guys. We are out. Peace.